Based on the roll call prior to the 7 p.m. debate, right now there are, I believe, seven who have joined us, and likely more will join us. The challenge is that we've put this debate forum during the fall veto session in Springfield, so the state representatives that are in this field are not able to join us, or may be able to join us late. They're working down in Springfield. Uh, and Dan Bist is going to join us later as well. I'd like to, first of all, I'd like to thank Bill Davis of NWSOFA, who's our leader in this whole effort, Candace Davis of Indivisible Evanston, Lonnie Ulrich of Indivisible Skokie, Morton Grove, and Lincolnwood, Debbie Rudy of NWSOFA, who's going to be monitoring the chat for questions, and Pam Lefkowitz, who's done some work with the PDF, which has got all the bios of the candidates. I'd also like to thank all the voters of the Illinois 9th that is joining us, and other attendees that have taken time out of their busy day to be with us. And as you all know, this country that we love dearly is at a crossroads and under daily assault by a renegade leader and regime that is engaged in lawless acts and statements that are aimed at destroying our democratic institutions. As Ben Franklin said, you have a republic if you can keep it. And we need all of you, candidates, voters, citizens, and others, to safeguard this republic by being actively engaged in voting and peaceful protest against the regime. So without further ado, let me go over the rules of this forum that we've already gone over with the candidates prior to the start of the event. There'll be 6 rounds of candidate participation in this forum, and each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. The candidates will have a 45-second warning by Lonnie, our timekeeper, and then a time warning at 1 minute. She will also do a 30-second paddle warning prior to the 1 minute of the questioning. Candidates will have their opportunity to complete their thought at the end of the 1 minute, as long as they don't go more than 10 or 15 seconds beyond that 1 minute. We have one candidate, Howard Rosenblum, with a sign language interpreter or interpreters, and he's been given an accommodation of 90 seconds to answer each question. The first 3 rounds of questions will be asked by me, and they've been pulled out of a hat, and the candidates will be, they know the pool of questions, but they don't know what question will be addressed to them. So the first 2 rounds of questions will be from that pool. The third round will be a rebuttal round, where they'll be given 1 minute to either rebut something that one of the other candidates said in their answers to their question, or they'll be able to take one of the other questions that were not addressed to them and then address that question. Then this will be followed by 2 rounds of questions from the audience, from the attendees. So here, I request you attendees to send the questions through the chat to, you're going to send it to Questions for Candidates. And Debbie Rudy is sitting behind that Questions for Candidates, and she'll collect the questions and pass them on to me, and I will ask 2 rounds of questions there. Then we'll have the final round of the participation by the candidates will be a closing statement of 1 minute. And so that's as far as the format. A couple of housekeeping issues. Candidates have submitted bios for this program, and that has been put into a PDF, which will be put into the chat 3 times during the chat by Debbie Rudy. The other important housekeeping question is the code of behavior. We expect all people, the attendees, to be on their best behavior. No bad language in the chat, or nothing objectionable in the chat. If there will be zero tolerance from our group in terms of anyone who's trying to do anything that is not kosher. Sorry for the long preamble, but the first set of questions will be in alphabetical order. And since Kat is Kat Abu Ghazaleh on the Zoom? I don't think so. So the first question will go to Bushra Amiwala, and here is the question, Bushra. So pundits say Trump and the GOP made a clean sweep in 2024, saying that the Biden-Kamala team had caused inflation to spiral out of control. Now prices of beef, bacon, and other grocery store costs are rising by more than 10%, with inflation running at 3% above the Fed target of 2%. By the way, today, the Fed lowered interest rates again by a quarter point. How is Trump getting away with this, and how do you plan to hold him and the GOP to account before 2026 and beyond 2026?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for that question, Sid, and thank you to the Indivisible groups for giving us the space and platform to answer these questions today. When it comes to holding Trump accountable prior to 2026, that is what spaces and forums like this are able to do. Theoretically, once I get elected in March, I wouldn't be sworn in until 2027. That is far too late before any accountability is given to President Trump at this point and stage. How is he getting away with it? He's getting away with it because Democrats are equally as complicit as it comes to not pushing back against this administration. When we see something like tariffs, we know that the harm of that increased cost comes to us, everyday consumers. People a part of the working class, people that actually get pushed on. I knew from my time in tech when we worked with clientele, they would just push the increased costs of tariffs or inflation onto their consumers. And the best ways to organize, advocate, protest, and use our digital currency online. Thank you.
Okay. So the next question will go to Phil Andrew. Is Phil Andrew on board?
We were the only ones having trouble.
Can you put Phil Andrew in the spotlight? So take Bushra off and put Phil Andrew on. There's Phil. I recognize him from the Oakton debate. Okay, Phil, this question is for you. Can you hear me, Phil? Can you unmute yourself, Phil? Phil needs to unmute himself. Phil, are you unmuted?
Check in chat.
Yeah, check in the chat. I can't.
Chat's disabled.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Try
yeah.
now. Try now, Phil.
Oh,
Phil, I can hear you now. Hi, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for unmuting me.
Good. So, Phil, here's your question. Trump has torn down the East Wing of the White House with no accounting for donor money. And he plans to get the Justice Department to give him $230 million for quote unquote improper lawsuits against him for storing sensitive papers at Mar-a-Lago and other things that he was accused of. How do you plan to hold him account for this lawlessness?
Well, again, thank you for having us and creating this forum. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak to the voters here. That's a great question. And it's really a much larger question. It's not just about those two things. This administration has shown a complete lack of regard for the law, for court orders. It's shown a complete lack of regard for any level of accountability. It's removed the inspector generals from every agency in our government, which are long recognized as being really important in terms of identifying and preventing corruption. So this is really the crux of this, right? That at this midterm, we need to elect the right kind of Democrats who can hold this administration accountable and really start asserting the powers that Congress has constitutionally. We've got a debt ceiling vote right now. My background is in the FBI. I have fought terrorists. I have absolutely fought public corruption. And you really need to think about this as working against a hostage taker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil. Okay, so the next question will go, is Daniel Biss here? I don't think Daniel Biss has joined us yet. So the next question will go to Jeff Cohen. So we need to get Jeff Cohen in the spotlight.
And Sid, we need to announce that if somebody wants to ask a question, they need to press new chat so that they can send it to me.
Okay.
Did we lose Jeff?
No, I'm here.
Can you put Jeff in the?
Yeah, I gotta find him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can't, but your camera's not on. Hold on.
No, I see me.
Okay, I need to put you in the spotlight.
Okay.
Oh, because you're in there alphabetically under Cohen, not your first name, I bet. Hold on. Let me search. Hold on.
I can see you,
Front
Jeff.
of
You look
me
great.
right here. There we go. Hold on. I
Hold on.
found him. Sorry about that. Here we go.
Ah, there's Jeff.
Okay.
Hi, Jeff. Can you speak so that I know that you're?
Yeah, you can hear me
good,
fine
good.
now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you. Okay.
All right.
So here's your question, Jeff. Obamacare subsidies are going to red states and Trump's MAGA followers. In fact, these citizens account for 75% of the beneficiaries. And Medicaid is facing cuts in the big ugly bill that Trump passed. The poor and the middle class are projected to face mounting medical debt, and the elderly are already having to make choices between food and medicines. Why is this wrong? And what do you plan to do to right these wrongs?
Thanks for having me, obviously. Thanks for having all of us. Listen, I think your question, you're absolutely right that the vast majority of Obamacare recipients are actually in the red states. It's Texas, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, and Tennessee. And there was a very, no surprise, there was a big uptick in the last 5 years in those states for Obamacare. So I think one of the questions you have is why are Republicans willing to cut the subsidies when it's going to affect their folks the most? I think a related question is what can we do about healthcare? And I think that there is a dream of single-payer healthcare that is going to be very difficult in our times. I've worked in every single piece of the healthcare community, providers, hospitals, insurance, and pharma. And it's going to be, I know some folks don't like to hear that it's complicated, but I can tell you based on experience, it is. There are things we can do to lower healthcare costs.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for the answer. The next person up is Justin Ford. So can we get Justin Ford on the? There's Justin. Justin,
Great.
here's your question. Can you speak up so that I can know that you?
Yep.
I can hear you. Yeah, good. Okay. The Trump government shutdown, and I'm calling it the Trump government shutdown, not the Democratic shutdown, is in its 29th day, with the Dems battling to get Obamacare credits restored after the big ugly bill took them away. If you were in Congress, would you continue to fight this fight and keep the government closed and send a message to Trump? Or would you be willing to buckle and make a deal with him to open up the government?
Thank you,
And
Sid,
why?
for the question, and thank you for Indivisible for having us here. Absolutely. Now, let me start by saying that the people that are being affected by this are being hurt. Federal workers are not getting paid. Food stamps aren't going to go out. We're going to see people being physically hurt by this. So when I say absolutely, I don't want to be flippant about it. It is not fair that these people should have to bear the burden of what we need to do to defend our democracy and defend people's health care. But ultimately, that's what we need to do. There's one button we have to push right now as Democrats, and that's as long as the filibuster's in place, we can hold up bills like this. The Republicans have shown they are not willing to play by the rules, and they will come back and claw back individual items from bills. Democrats have to show a spine. Democrats have to fight for people. They have to do this. I would be very upset if the Democrats do not hold the ground for as long as it takes until the Republicans back down.
Right.
Thank you, Justin. And you ended right at 60 seconds. That's great. Okay, the next question is Bruce Leon on? I don't think so.
He is.
Yes.
He is? Okay, Bruce, can Bruce be brought on the spotlight? There's Bruce. Good evening, Bruce. So here's the question. Good evening. Here's the question for you. The Trump administration has complained, unbelievably, that Europe is restricting free speech as Nazi symbols are disallowed in Germany and Europe. But now, Trump has tried to restrict free speech at universities, law firms, and other places in the US. What legislative or legal actions would you take to restore free speech in the US?
Well, thank you, Sid, and thank you all to Indivisible for making this happen. It's a great forum. I've been on the forefront, on both sides during the student protests the last 2 years, and also most recently in my community as the 50th Ward Committeeman, protecting some of my adherents that have been suffering. I think that I'd argue a little bit that free speech has been shut down completely. I think we've had some limitations that need to be pulled back, but I do think my definition of hate speech goes the whole way. It goes for Ku Klux Klan type of material. It goes for Nazi material. It goes for anti-Israel material. So my feeling is that hate speech has no purpose and no reason, and we have to be fair. If we're going to shut down certain types of hate speech, we have to shut down all hate speech.
Fine.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bruce. You ended also on time. So the next person, next person who's up is Sam Poland. Can you bring Sam Poland into the spotlight? There's Sam. Sam, the question, can you speak up so that I know that I can hear you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Okay. So your question for you is, LGBTQ rights are under attack by the Trump administration, and the Obergefell precedent could be reversed by the Supreme Court. What do you plan to do to protect LGBTQ rights?
Well, first of all, it's great to be here. Thank you all for having me. I mean, I think the rights of all people are the most important thing in the world. Obviously, that extends itself to LGBTQ. We need to push back on the overreach by the executive and the influence that they're pushing onto the Supreme Court. We work so hard for these civil rights to be established and really considered mainstream, and it's just completely unacceptable that we would be in a position where this is even a conversation again. So as independent fighters, we need to fight like hell to make sure that there is zero pushback, zero slide in the rights that have been well established for decades now, protecting all Americans, because that's our identity. That's who we are. We must protect everyone. So what Congress can do is pass legislation, codify things, provide some sort of oversight, some sort of check on the Supreme Court, the way the founders intended it, where we can actually hold other branches accountable and be reasonable about drastic reforms.
Thanks, Sam. So the next person up, according to my list, is Nick Piatti. Can you put Nick Piatti into the? Hi, Nick. Okay, hello. So Nick, question for you is: some in the Democratic Party and the political pundits believe that the Democrats focus too much on social issues like LGBTQ rights and bathroom usage by trans individuals. And this, they believe, caused the Democratic Party to lose in 2024. This is the view of some people in the Democratic Party. What are your views on this issue? And how would you message the economy and inflation and costs on the one hand, and social issues on the other hand, to win elections in 2026 and beyond?
Thanks again. Thanks for having us in the forum. I want to quickly say you sent the questions ahead of time. There's such a thorough list of questions. We posted answers to all of them on our website at nickpiatti.com. Just we didn't want to miss any of them. To your question, I don't agree with those who think that we should throw people under the bus as a way to win elections. If it's the case that defending queer rights or trans rights led us to lose in the last election, I'm not convinced that it did. The lesson is not that we should give up on civil rights. The lesson is we did not bring a broad enough vision to the table that could win people to our side, give us the chance to actually fight for the rights that we care about. The platform that we've been running on in my campaign is called A New American Century. It's about everything from civil rights to defending democracy to innovation and growth and fighting for freedom around the world. I think if we have that level of ambitious vision, we can win more people to the party, we can get into office, and then we will have the space to defend people's rights instead of having to sacrifice them in order to, try to win a few more votes here and there.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, so by the way, a note to the attendees and the people who are the voters in the district, please continue to post questions on the chat. Debbie Rudy is going to collect those questions, and those questions will be asked by me in the 4th and 5th round of this debate. So please go ahead and post questions in the chat so that we'll have enough questions when the rounds of those audience questions show up. So the
And
next
Sid,
one,
I need to let you know that Sam Weinberg is here in place of Kat.
Okay, so we'll bring Sam on after this next. I'm going to ask Howard Rosenblum a question, and then after that we'll go to the person who's representing Kat. And what was the name again, Candace?
Sam Weinberg.
Sam Weinberg. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so the next question will go to Howard Rosenblum, and Howard, you'll be given 90 seconds to answer this question. Okay, so the question goes like this. Trump says he will send more than the National Guard into cities like Chicago to enforce immigration laws and maintain law and order. So more than the National Guard, meaning that he could even send the Army or the armed forces. What do you plan to do to oppose this? And what should the Democrats do to prevent this lawlessness by our federal government and agencies like ICE that are thumbing the nose against judges, limiting the use of tear gas against peaceful protests? In fact, today, there was a ruling by a higher court against a lower court judge, limiting the lower court judge. Lower court judge wanted to oversee this tear gas and all this, and an appeals court has knocked that down. So what is your response to
that? Thank you for this forum. Can you hear my interpreter okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So this is Howard Rosenblum. I want to say thank you so much for inviting me to this forum and with my colleagues and fellow candidates. And thank you for Indivisible for hosting this. And I think this really goes to the rule of law, which is the whole point. In my entire life, I've worked on civil rights cases, and the idea of the federal government sending the military into our cities, the National Guard and ICE, trying to regulate our own United States citizens, our states and cities. This is illegal, it's unconstitutional, and we need to have ways to block this and prevent it. Some of the judges and the police have been successful in some of the cities and states with with TROs and injunctions and fighting, and we can't give up. Even though when appellate courts come down and limit their rulings, we need to continue fighting in every city, every state, and working together. We need to stop the unlawful action of the Trump government, and we need open investigations. We need to arrest federal officers who violate citizens' rights, who violate the Constitution. They need to be held accountable. And we need to not just talking about everyday people, but those actions of those officers.
Thank you, Howard, for your response. So the next question will go to Sam Weinberg, representing Kat Abu-Ghazaleh. And I suspect, Sam, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Good. So I'm assuming that you're representing Kat because Kat, I believe there was some, she was in something in Broadview, and you can explain that and also answer this question, give Kat's current condition, which we are concerned about. But the question to you is as follows. Climate change is intensifying storms, and right now, Hurricane Melissa is ravaging Jamaica. So we've had these 100-year storms, which are occurring every 1 or 2 years in North Carolina, Florida, Iowa, and so on. So what is the view of Kat that you're representing? What is her view on climate change? And what legislation in the US and what action should we take outside the country to slow this impact and try to stay within the 2 degrees Celsius goal of the Paris Treaty?
Thanks so much, Sid. Yeah, as you all can tell, I am not Kat, unfortunately. Sorry to disappoint. She had federal in the federal indictment unsealed against her today. She is going to fight it, and she's going to win. We had quite a day here, but Kat is okay. Our day just got very filled up, and she's very sorry that she couldn't make it. This is really indicative of the political moment where we are, unfortunately, where the president and his associates are prosecuting people for their political beliefs and for protected First Amendment speech. So I'm happy to direct all of you to Kat's social media, where we've got statements on this, and more will be coming from our end. But to directly address the climate change question, Kat supports a Green New Deal. She supports rejoining the Paris Accords. She would also use American power abroad to, leverage American diplomacy abroad to support other countries decreasing their coal use, decreasing fossil fuel use, and expanding green energy overall. We really need to lean into a Green New Deal as much as possible, not just as a broad framework, but also as a set of specifics for how we can curb the climate crisis as soon as possible. And you're absolutely right, Sid, that what's happening right now in the Caribbean is devastating. It's happening in the US, all across the world, and it's going to take a global effort to fight it. So again, sorry I'm not Kat, but thank you all so much.
Thanks, and we're all glad to hear that Kat is okay and she's fighting the good fight down in Broadview. Okay, so we've gone through. Let me just ask whether there are some candidates that we're expecting to join us later. Is Daniel Biss in the house yet?
No.
No. Laura Fine?
No.
Mike Simmons?
No.
Okay. So then we'll start the second round of questions, and we'll start the second round with going to Justin Ford. Can you bring Justin Ford on to the spotlight?
Yep. Just give me a second.
There's Justin. Okay. So Justin, the question for you is, Comey, Bolton, Letitia James, and the Federal Reserve Governor and others have faced federal prosecution, while the members of his own cabinet and the MAGA Texas Attorney General have made similar transgressions relating to mortgage, what he calls mortgage fraud. Trump and the Justice Department. And these people are going scot-free while Trump's on his retribution tour. Also, Trump pardoned J6 rioters and may even pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. What specific actions, legislation, and lawsuits can the Democrats take to fight this unconstitutional behavior?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think I would start by saying that I'm not going to say that the Fed chairman did break any laws. I don't know that case, so I'm not going to go there. I do know that other people have been convicted in this administration. Obviously, I know what happened on January 6th, and that pardoning was a very sad moment in America. Right now, we can do lawsuits. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court doesn't look like they would like to hold up the Constitution. What we need to do is stay focused on winning in the midterms, taking back the House and taking back the Senate. If we can do that, then we have a lot more levers at our disposal, and we can start to do things like taking back the legislature's right to have the budget, and making sure that the tariffs are reversed, and making sure that we can do investigations on these illegal actions by the Trump administration.
Fantastic. You ended on time. So the next one, so we've that was Justin Ford. Next question will go to Bruce Leon. Can you bring Bruce Leon into the spotlight?
Yep, hold on.
There's Bruce. Okay, Bruce, the question for you is, abortion rights are under attack in red states like Texas, and the Supreme Court is not a backstop against dismantling of the settled law in Roe versus Wade. What is your plan to restore Roe? And would you recommend codifying Roe into law after 2029 if the Democrats get all the levers of power?
Yeah. So I'm on record. In my two previous races, I got the highest recommendations from Planned Parenthood and from other organizations on abortion rights. I am a big fan of what Justin said. We need to take back certainly the House, hopefully the Senate, and then we can start to work on legislation. I'm somebody, as a moderate centrist, who would like to see us go back to bipartisan, and I think this is a perfect issue where we can agree on a nationwide federal codification of the Roe v. Wade. I think that it would take it out of the states' hands, which I don't think is an efficient way to manage this process. And personally, I'd like to see us get the abortion issue behind us. My mother was an abortion advocate in the late 70s, and I would hope that 50 years later we would have solved this so we can tackle the bigger issues of economy and of climate and other things. So I'd like to see this get settled, make a national law, and hopefully we can do that when we take back the legislative body.
Thanks, Bruce. Okay, so the next question will go to Sam Poland. Can we bring Sam Poland into the spotlight? There's Sam. Okay, Sam, the question for you in the next round is, Palestinians are being killed with US weapons by the Netanyahu regime. Netanyahu government are trying to pass legislation in the Knesset to annex the West Bank, while continuing to choke humanitarian aid from reaching Gaza. What would you suggest to stop the killing of innocent Palestinians? And how can we ensure that a two-state solution is likely at some point in the future?
So obviously it's an incredibly complicated question, but what we need to do is apply all the leverage we have, apply all the pressure points that we have. This conflict has gone on far too long, and I fully support a two-state solution, but that two-state solution needs to actually be a viable state, because Israel deserves its security and Palestinians deserve their sovereignty and their right to live in, pursue democracy as they see fit. This is going to take an international effort. This is going to take the international community coming together to set up clear guidelines, set up clear goals, clear benchmarks to actually bring things forward and have realistic plans to actually get things done and ensure a peace. Right now, the biggest thing that holds back peace is we keep living areas in absolute turmoil. We need to rebuild these communities. We need to rebuild these countries to ensure that groups like Hamas and other terror groups don't seize the opportunity and exploit people who are malnourished, exploit people who don't have access to the very basic things they need to live.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Sam. Okay.
I'd like to remind people, if you have questions for the candidates, to please go to new chat and submit the questions to the candidates for those who signed on late.
Thanks, Lonnie. Thanks for reminding me. Thanks for doing that. So the next question will go to Nick Piatti. Can we bring Nick Piatti into the spotlight? There's Nick. Can you hear me, Nick?
Yep.
Okay. The US government has been weakening ties with NATO and letting Putin bomb civilian targets in Ukraine, killing school children and others in Ukraine while he tries to reestablish the Russian Peter the Great kind of country, an empire. What ideas do you have to end the killing in Ukraine? And should Ukraine agree to concede land for peace?
I absolutely do not believe Ukraine should concede land for peace. So in the last century, the United States took a leadership role into fighting for democracy around the world against Soviets, against Nazis. I think in this century, we have been slow to realize that there is an alliance of autocracies that is happening around the world. Ukraine is one of the front lines against that, and Russia's acquisition of territory there is something autocrats all around the world are watching and waiting to see whether the United States and the rest of the democratic world will stand by an ally or fold. I think we cannot ever afford to give in on this. It is a difficult conflict. It is a bloody conflict, but Ukraine has already shown for the last few years an unbelievable resilience and ability to fight. And I think it is incumbent on us, if we want to lead this world in this century again, to make sure that we are not abandoning an ally at this critical moment. So we should absolutely continue the fight in Ukraine.
Thanks, Nick. Good answer. Okay, so the next question will go to Howard Rosenblum, and he's going to get the 90 seconds right, Lonnie. So here's the question for Howard, if you can bring him into the spotlight along with the interpreter who's already on.
Yeah, just give me a second.
Yeah. No worries. Take your time.
Howard. There you go.
There's Howard. So Howard, this is your question. The US has a posse comitatus law that was passed during Reconstruction that prohibits the use of military in domestic law enforcement. Trump started to use the troops at the border first and now in US cities. How do you plan to combat this when you get elected to Congress?
Thank you for that fantastic question. And it's a legal question. And as a lawyer, it's really important for the US government not to use their war powers or to inflict harm on our own people in this country, their citizens. We need to follow the entire process of the rule of law and protections set up for that. The courts should be following the Posse Comitatus Act when they fight. We need to file more lawsuits, more claims. We need to investigate. Congress needs to set up investigations. We need to hold the president to task when they're hurting our own citizens and our own people. And this is one of the things that's most important for the legislative action to do. There's a big bottleneck in trying to get attention. We need to get the news media, get the word out any way we can till we wrest control back in Congress in 2026, 2028. And this is the only way we're going to be able to stop the unlawful, unconstitutional actions that the government is taking right now. We need to have investigations in the unofficial conduct. He's trying to run around impeachments. We need to investigate the president for all the illegal actions that are being taken place.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Howard. So the next person after Howard will go back to CAT's representative, Sam Weinberg.
Did Sam leave?
Sam did leave, apparently. He said
Yeah.
thank you, and he did leave.
Okay,
not
so the
showing
next
up. Okay.
next question is for Bushra Amiwala.
Okay.
And by the way, we'd like to continue to encourage the audience to submit questions to questions for candidates, and so that in the chat. So please continue to do that. Okay, so Bushra, your question is as follows: the GOP and MAGA successfully used the argument that the Democrats want to defund the police, and they, the GOP, have positioned themselves as the law and order party, the law and order party. How can Democrats shed this image of the defunding the police issue and show how that they care about crime reduction as much as the GOP claim that they do, and maybe take a page out of what Zoran Mamdani is trying to do in New York?
We've seen the Republican Party criminalize poverty. The current system that we have right now incentivizes private prisons to take the most vulnerable communities and use that as an excuse to say crime is at an all-time high. Crime is at an all-time low in the city of Chicago, as example, and we know that Trump and the Republican Party loves to use Chicago as a representation for all of Illinois, and we love to see them fearmonger what our communities look like. When we say something like defund the police, that is a transfer of wealth for more community services, mental health services, and we've seen no statistical correlation that would lead to more increase in policing of communities and actually seeing a decline in safer communities and neighborhoods. What we have seen is a stark correlation with more mental health services, social workers, and increasing access to communities' most vulnerable populations, and how that actually leads to a decrease in crime. Thank you.
Thanks. By the way, a quick question for Bill and our group. Have Daniel Biss or Laura Fine or Mike Simmons joined the Zoom?
No, Daniel hasn't, Laura hasn't, and Mike has not.
Okay, so I guess they're still busy down in Springfield. Okay, so the next question will go to Phil Andrew. Give me just a second to pull up the question. So the question to you is, this is sort of a related question to the earlier one. It says, Mamdani is a rising star in the Democratic Party and likely the next mayor of New York City. Trump and MAGA are trying to tie him to socialism, communism, and also trying to tie the Democratic Party to these labels, saying that the Dems are extreme left Antifa types. If you were in New York, would you vote for Mamdani? And what do you think of his policies of free buses, maybe some free grocery stores, though he has walked and he has walked back his stance on being anti-police, which is maybe a good thing?
Well, thanks for that question. Well, first, I'm not in New York. I did work in New York for 8 years with the FBI. And what I'll tell you is that I wouldn't. I just don't go for slogans. I think you really have to show that your words match your actions. And as I go and listen around the 9th Congressional District, I think that people really want to know that they're being heard. And what I'm hearing is that people care a lot about affordability. They care a lot about public safety. And what they're tired of is performative politics. They don't want people to just say stuff that they probably can't deliver. And they certainly are tired of people saying stuff that they don't do. And I think that's really at the crux of this and at the heart of the problem with the Democratic Party and it being so unhealthy. And that's leading to a very unhealthy Republican Party. We have to start doing what we say and leading with the values that the American people expect. And this district deserves somebody who's going to focus on it and not other places around the country.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil. So the next question will go to Jeff Cohn. There you are, Jeff. Okay, Jeff, here's the question. Trump first slapped 100% duties on China, causing them to stop soybeans and other farm products from the U.S. Now, Trump is in South Korea. He's going to sign a deal with China with reduction in tariffs in return for soybean purchases. So Trump creates a problem and then solves it, looking like a hero. How can the Democrats counteract the strategy? And how would you message our response to expose this bait and switch that Trump is doing?
Well, look, I mean, Trump is one of the worst businessmen I've ever seen. So we got to start with that. But some of his trade policy is based on a lot of it's based on tariffs, which every economist knows kind of baby tool to deal with trade imbalance. And, it's the tool of a bully. And what the real problem is that, tariffs aren't everything, and the relationship with China isn't everything. The real problem is that we have a weak economy. It's weak from COVID, it's weak from 2 world wars. And that's really underlying what the problem is with Trump's kind of lawless foreign policy and trade tricks, really. It's related to the deficit. It's related to his tariff injunctions. I'm not really sure how we can start fixing that without getting him out of office first, because the economic logic is completely missing from his administration. The folks that he has hired are people that are not great.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jeff. So we've gone through 2 rounds of questions, and this is a question for Debbie Rudy. Debbie, have you been able to gather any questions from the audience?
I have sent them to you in an email.
I'm trying to find this in the email. What I will do is it may have gone into my spam folder. Let me just check and see if it's gone into my spam folder.
It was sent at 7:46.
May I suggest it gets sent to somebody else that's hosting?
Yeah, So
it is titled 1029.
Yeah, I see. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. So the next round of questions I'm going to ask, I'm going to start at the bottom of our. I'm going to start with Howard Rosenblum and work my way back. So Howard, the question for Howard is, there you are, Howard. So what is your solution for universal health care? Do you support Medicare for all?
That's a great question, and I do support Medicare for all. We need to make sure that every person in America has full access to health care, especially for people who are marginalized or lower economic positions, mental health issues, disabled issues. It's important that healthcare is open to all citizens, and we have an opportunity to have productive citizens, productive lives. There are many families who are broke, struggling to pay with bills, and healthcare is one of those essential things that's necessary for every single family. They're struggling with other issues, economic issues, and every person should have a right to healthcare benefits. Of course, we need a growing economy. Whether we will have healthcare for all with this current political climate, probably not. So we need to figure out what we can do in the interim and incrementally improve the healthcare. We need to stop the cuts in subsidies for medical care under the Affordable Care Act. We need to stop those cuts and make sure that people have continuing coverage and access. We have 92% of the healthcare coverage right now going down to 85%. We need to increase that rate so that health insurance and healthcare is available to 100%, that people have full access to healthcare to the point where we've achieved that healthcare for all.
Okay, good. Thanks for the answer. So the next question will go to Nick Piatti.
I'm unmuted. I said,
There's Nick. Nick, you lucked out on this question. This is going to be. I don't believe congressperson is an entry-level position. What prior experience do you have you feel qualifies you for this position?
well, I'm glad you think that's an easy question, Sid. So my background is I started my career as a public school teacher in New York. I was a federal prosecutor. I went to law school and I became a federal prosecutor. And then I decided I didn't want to be a lawyer, so I went into business and I spent the last 9 years as a senior leader at Microsoft. So, when people ask, what's the experience that qualifies you to be a member of Congress? I would say, if we care about creating opportunity and improving the education system in this century, well, I've been a classroom teacher. If we care about balancing corporate power with the rights of individuals, I've been a white-collar prosecutor at the Department of Justice doing just that. And if we want to create economic growth and foster innovation and create opportunity for everyone in this country, I have led that at Microsoft, at one of the biggest companies in the world or in the country. So the experience that I think is relevant is that cross-sector experience that gives me a view from private sector, public sector, and I think that's the kind of breadth that we need to be able to get the solutions we need in this century.
Thanks, Nick. The next question will go to Sam Poland.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Just a second. Hold on. There you go, Sam.
Sam, the question for you is as follows. Let me see if I can pull my. Your question is as follows. The Trump administration consistently tries to paint peaceful protesters as violent rioters, or even as terrorists. It's critical to try to protect our citizens from unlawful arrests in all legal ways, such as videotaping. Do actions that interfere with law enforcement actions, such as blocking ICE vehicles, help or hurt the situation, and why?
So first and foremost, everyone in this country has a right to their First Amendment rights and has the right to protest, has the right to assembly, and has a right to make their voices heard and express themselves, especially when they're not happy with the current state of things. This administration, if there's one thing they do very well, it is tell a story and control the narrative, especially against a disorganized, often seemingly lacking of a message Democratic Party. They control the narrative, they control the media, they control these problem sets, and they do it in such a way that it evokes anger, fear, and just passion from their base. So they have been incredibly effective at doing that. And we need to really get better at messaging and controlling the narrative and pushing back on this information warfare that the Trump administration continues to push forward. So, whether or not these are actually like legally binding or someone actually broke the law. It's clear what the administration is actually doing. It's painting people into a corner, and it's controlling the narrative of what they're actually saying. And they're trying to control reality. It has nothing to do with what's actually legal anymore.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Sam. The next question will go to Bruce Leon. There you are, Bruce. So here's your question. This question happens to be from David Rosenthal. What steps would you take to reassert Congress's power of the purse to prevent Trump from using funds to punish opponents and reward supporters?
So it's kind of timely because I do have to apologize. This question after this, I have to beg off because I'm involved in a group in my district to help feed families that are losing SNAP and food stamps right now. So I certainly know what's happening when you use the power of economic stability to cause disruption. I think that, again, the key thing is to figure out a bipartisan solution to these problems, to be problem solvers and not just be the people on the street, because we are a party of big vision. We're the party of the Civil Rights Act. We're the party of the New Deal, and we need to come up with solutions to solve these problems. And that way we'll take the power from the Trump administration and we can give what the people really need, which are benefits and economic security. And thank you for this event tonight.
You're welcome. You're welcome. The next question goes for Justin Ford, and this is quite an interesting question. This is by Karen Lehner. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. The candidates have similar views on a number of issues. I would like to know what character traits they believe would make an effective legislator. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have our own styles. I can tell you how I'm effective in what I do. Many of these people, I'd be happy with as a representative, and you get to pick your favorite, and it's really a bunch of riches we get to pick before in the Illinois 9th district. However, I work with influence, not power. As one of 435 members, you have to be able to convince people of things. You have to bring people on board. You have to find allies, maybe in one fight, and then you're going to get different allies in another fight. That's what I do. I work in environmental health and safety. I work with industry. I work with the government to try to bridge those gaps and make things happen. I work with workers who might have differences of opinion on how to do something to bring them together to get it done. This is what a representative of Congress in my mind is about. It's about bringing the people together. It's about having a vision. It's about leading, but it's also about listening. And I think that that's what I would bring to this office.
Thanks a lot, Justin. The next question will go to Jeff Cohn. There you are, Jeff. Here's a question relating to the representative in Arizona who has not yet been sworn in, Grijalva, I believe. What would you do if the speaker refuses to swear you in? This is
what would I do?
Yeah. What would you do if, let's say, Johnson was still the speaker and he refuses to swear you in just like he's doing with Grijalva? What would you do to counteract that?
Well, the first thing I do is hire a really good lawyer. I mean, it's illegal. And so we need to bring some serious legal muscle to bear on that. I spent a lot of my life working with lawyers, and so I think I could find someone to help with that. But that just goes to the kind of underlying lawlessness question that we have, and a disrespect from Mike Johnson for he's clearly unable to do anything that isn't partisan. And I think that's sad because I think there is room to to cross the aisle And I think that's important. I think that speaks to someone's temperament. And I think that I'm somebody that could do that. But that kind of pure partisan nonsense is something that I think we just have to stand up for. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, next question is to Phil Andrew. And this is a question I actually put together on my list, but George Sachs on the has posed the same question on the chat. Can we? So Phil Andrew is up next. There you are, Phil. So this relates to the question about justices on the Supreme Court, and right now the Supreme Court is a 6-3 Supreme Court, which seems to rubber stamp everything that Trump has done. So this is George Sachs's question. So his question is, if we regain control of the presidency and the Congress, should we add moderate justices to the U.S. Supreme Court to restore its intended function? That is, add another 5 justices to the Supreme Court to get it up to 12, so that we will be in a position, 12 or 13, to be in a position to have a majority progressive group on the Supreme Court. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, I think we need to hold the Supreme Court to the same ethical standards that we hold every federal judge. And mind you, we should have those same ethical standards for every member of Congress. We've got to stop the insider trading and the unethical behavior. But when it clearly we've got this difficult problem where the Supreme Court has incredibly low favorable ratings. They are not following precedent, and they're departing from the norm. I think that it should be on the table that we would add additional, very thoughtful jurisprudence experts to the Supreme Court, to start balancing it in the way that it was intended to be. And unfortunately, without the ethical standards, we have seen bias creep into the court, and it contributes to the lack of faith in our entire system. We've got an executive branch breaking the law. We've got a Congress that won't follow the rules, and we've got a Supreme Court that garners no trust from the American people.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Phil. So the next question goes to Bushra. There you are, Bushra. Bushra, this is another Supreme Court question. It looks like that's high on the minds of the voters in this district. The question relates to Citizens United. And should the Congress pass legislation to basically negate the impact of Citizens United and that Supreme Court ruling that created all this dark money in politics?
Yes, Congress should put forth and pass legislation that overturns Citizens United. And now for my remainder 55 seconds, I'll talk about dark money and how it continues to buy our candidates and elected officials on both the left and the right. Right now, you can decide who you'll vote for based on bought versus unbought. We have the 1% that controls what impacts the 99% of us by buying our candidates and elected officials. I'm proud to say I've been declining corporate PAC money since my first run for office in 2017. I was offered $55,000 worth of corporate cash by soda companies. I was 19, yet in spite of that, morals and consistency has reigned true, and I declined that money. And to this day, political commentators talk about, had I accepted that money, I would have won that election. So on the character front, consistency, credibility, and relationships are what we should measure our candidates and elected officials by. And to repeat the answer, yes, I would vote to overturn Citizens United.
Thanks, Bushra. Good answer. Okay, so now I'm going to go, I know I've gone out of sequence a little bit. I was going to go to a rebuttal round. So I'm going to go to the rebuttal round now. The rebuttal round should have been the third round. Now it's going to be the fourth round. And then I'll follow up with another round of audience questions. So the rebuttal round is going to start with Bruce Leon.
Did we lose Bruce? I'm not seeing him.
I think he said he was gonna.
He said he was going to go.
Oh,
he
yeah,
was
he
gonna
said he
go.
had to go. Sorry.
Okay. So then let's start with Sam Poland in this rebuttal round. Sam. So the question to you in the rebuttal round, so you can take issue with anything that any of the other candidates said, or pick a question that was not asked of you and answer that question. So you're
Sure.
on for the next 60 seconds.
I'd like to expand a little bit upon the Supreme Court packing answer that Phil was talking about. I'll just start and say I agree with 99.9% of what he said about the code of conduct, the ethics that were required, and how we need to hold the court to the same standards, and as well as bringing congressional reform and actually taking control and actually putting checks on them by codifying things that are appropriate. Where I disagree is in expanding the Supreme Court. I think on paper, in the moment, it sounds great. It sounds very appealing. But the reality is, at some point, we will have to concede power back to the Republican Party. And the reality is, if we add justices, they'll add justices, and we will continue down this crazy spiral of an arms race of Supreme Court justices before the court, we get to a point where the court no longer resembles what it's supposed to resemble. It'll continue to be partisan, if not more partisan. What I would actually suggest is enacting some sort of term limit, some sort of rotating term limit, where every president has a limit of 2 appointees, barring any extraneous circumstances. But that way we could keep fresh people in, because the lifetime appointments are out of date, they're out of touch. We need to reform the court indefinitely.
Okay. So the next person on is Nick Piatti. So Nick, the same question to you. So you have a choice of either rebutting something that another candidate said, or you can pick a question that was asked that was not addressed to you. So your choice.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to rebut something. It's not a specific answer, but something I've heard across a number of answers. I think, we all know that the president is acting in a lawless way, sidelining Congress, ignoring the Supreme Court, ignoring protest. And yet, when we're asked questions about what we want to do about it, we say, we're going to pass laws, we're going to hold them account, we're going to hold hearings. There's a disconnect that's happening here, and it's throughout the Democratic Party. This is a president that is an outlaw president. He is ignoring Congress and violating the law. And if we think that we're going to win the House back or win the Senate back and pass a bunch of legislation that's going to rein him in, we've kind of missed the point of what's actually happening here. We can and must do everything we can to slow him down with the levers that we have, but we should not fool ourselves that winning a few more seats and getting Congress back is going to change things. The number one thing we have to do, that we have to be laser focused on, how do we build a party that can win a majority and take back the White House? Because none of this is going to change until we change who's giving the orders from the White House.
Thanks, Nick. So by the way, before I ask the next question of Howard Rosenblum, have any of the other candidates, including Dan Biss, Dan Biss said he may join at 8 o'clock. Is Dan Biss in the waiting room already?
No.
No. Okay.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Okay. Okay. Howard Rosenblum will get the next. Is going to ask. I'm going to ask Howard the same question that I asked the rest of the group. So Howard, you can either rebut something that someone else said, or take a question that was not asked of you and answer it.
Thank you. I'd like to piggyback on what Nick was just talking about in terms of the reality of facing the Democratic Party. Even if we win the House in the next election, or if we win both houses of Congress, we still have, like he said, an outlaw president, and he's going to do whatever he has been doing without regard for the Constitution, the separation of powers. So the first thing we need to do is to set up an opportunity to go back to the separation of powers where Congress has power of appropriating funds. Regardless, they can distribute money how they want. They can take back that power from the president so that each department is actually doing the job that they're supposed to do, following the laws, following the budgets that have been passed, instead of deferring to the president and letting him do whatever he wants. And I think that's a really important issue that we need to face. Any kind of levers that we get back, we need to continue to actually do it. We need to hold hearings, investigations of the president. We need to stop the unlawful action, and we keep there's a big bottleneck in trying to do anything and trying to get any control back from the president right now. So until that time in 2028, we're in a difficult situation, but we can't just give up. We have to return to sanity, and we have to do, we can't allow a bully to run unchecked. And I think it's important that we don't allow this autocratic control to continue. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Howard. Okay, so next up is Bushra. Hi, Bushra. So it's the same question, same option for you. So you can either rebut something that someone else said, or you can take a question that was asked of someone else and answer it.
Sorry, I was frozen for a second, and I still look like I am. Can you see or hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I guess that's good enough. I'll go ahead and answer. Sorry, we're still frozen. I'm not too interested in refuting anything that any of my fellow candidates did in a way that would be productive in a forum like today, and really appreciate the tenacity and nuance that my co-competitors choose to answer their questions by. Something I did want to speak to was the question of, what do you think qualifies you to be a candidate representing this office? And I want to allude to that because I think that this is a time and space where a lot of us might not differ significantly when it comes to policy, ideology, or platform, but what you will vote for come March 17th, or could be June if these maps do pass with a gerrymandering effort, is a person. And I want you to vote for that person that, like myself, that literally is a shining example and product of Illinois 9 at its finest. And I'm grateful to be that candidate that brings, sorry, y'all, I didn't see the stop sign.
No, you're fine. Yeah. No, you can always complete your thought.
Finish the sentence.
Even if you see the stop sign. Okay. So next up is Phil Andrew. There you are, Phil. So Phil, again, the same option for you. Pick something that's one of the other candidates said, and you're not hurting the other candidate or being mean to the other candidate, but because part of this election is we got to choose among these 13 very good candidates, and you got to. I was in marketing. You got to come up with some point of differentiation between yourself and the others to make them choose you versus the others. So go ahead and rebut something, or pick another question to answer that was not asked of you.
Thank you. Thanks for the coaching on that. I'll choose to differentiate myself. And first, I want to just say that it's great. If every district in the country had this kind of competition and this many choices, I don't think we may have the problems we have. But let's be very, very clear that we are absolutely in a crisis. And this may be the crisis of our life, and it's a crisis of our democracy. And not everybody here has the background and skills that match the moment. I have been a hostage negotiator. I have fought terrorism and public corruption. I'm a survivor of gun violence. And let's be clear, the last time we had a government change, the Capitol was attacked violently, and there was every intent to assault representatives. So I am stepping into this because it is dangerous, and We need people who have been in these places that are willing to do what needs to be done in a moment of crisis. And I think that there's some of us that have very different backgrounds.
Right. Daniel Biss has entered the.
Okay, thanks. Thanks
Yes.
for that. Okay, so we will go to Daniel Biss now. Can we bring Daniel Biss in?
Yeah, I'm here, sort of shrouded in darkness.
Hey, Daniel, are you?
Hey, how's it going?
I hope you're not driving.
I'm in the passenger seat, and it's also very exciting. We're in traffic, so like sometimes we'll pull up to a red light, and I'll be bathed in red light. I'll look sort of demonic, and then pull up to a green light, and I'll look pale and ill. It's going to be very exciting for all of us.
Okay, so Daniel,
Yes.
Your first question is going to be, here's so you'll be given 60 seconds to talk about and here you've not heard the rest of the debate, right? You've not heard the rest of the debate.
I've heard nothing. I'm coming in totally cold.
So totally cold. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question that was in my list of questions, and give me 1 second to get that on. So here, I apologize. Okay.
No, I apologize for being late.
No worries. Okay, so here is the question. Trump says, "I am the president and the speaker." He says he passed the big ugly bill with all the goodies that he wants, and he says he doesn't need Congress for the next 4 years. So he says, okay, I put everything in that one bill. There have also been clawbacks and rescissions of funds already appropriated by Congress. That's one of the strategies that he's adopted. With such behavior, how can Democrats ever trust Trump and his MAGA GOP? Do you have any ideas to counteract this behavior by Trump?
Well, we can't, right? It is very clear, whether you're looking at the behavior you described, where through, for example, these rescissions, basically budget votes are rendered sort of irrelevant, to what happened today in our communities across the suburbs of, again, masked federal agents at Trump's direction, driving around, looking, racially profiling, grabbing landscapers, for conducting abductions, or frankly, whether it's just Donald Trump's whole career in business. This is not a person who can be trusted. And so the job of Democrats, even now when Democrats tragically don't have a majority in either house, but particularly should we be in a situation where Democrats do have a majority, and let's say the House, is not to trust, not to give him the benefit of the doubt, not to take his word for it, but to put in place binding constraints that cannot be violated. And so this is the spirit with which we have to negotiate. We have to negotiate with him, saying, we're not going to believe you, we're going to force you, and we're going to stand strong with backbone until we get what we need.
Okay, thanks a lot, Daniel. Okay, and you'll get at least another 2 or 3 rounds of questions. The next person is Justin Ford. Did Justin get? I believe I started out with Justin in this round. So we'll go.
You did not. You started out right after me. So
right after you. Okay, then you get.
You were on track. It's just Dan got you a little off.
a
little off track there.
I'm trying to jump.
It's hard when you get the celebrity of Dan coming in on the road. It's hard to stay focused. I know.
Okay, good. So now the Justin, you have the same option now to either go and rebut something that someone else said, or pick a question that was addressed to someone else and then come up with an answer.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for giving this opportunity. I really enjoy this group. I think we agree on many things. I could sort of nitpick little tiny things here and there. It's not going to be good use of our time. I'm going to do a third option you didn't give me, Sid. We didn't have any union questions. And my entire campaign is trying to bring working people back into the Democratic Party. I think we need to support unions as a way to bring democracy to our workforce in order to democratize the country again. That's how we win again. As union membership has been dropping, wealth inequality has been increasing. We see these problems in our society and we're like, what's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. Workers aren't getting a voice. I was a union organizer. I helped organize AF2 6297. I know what it was like before we had a union. I know what it was like after. And I'm telling you right now, if we want to solve the problems in this country, we need to stand behind working people. We need to give them a voice in the workplace, and we need to be a strong union party.
Okay, thanks, Justin. So we've gone through 4 rounds. So now we're going to the 5th round. And here we're going to start with Bushra. There you are, Bushra. Okay, here's an interesting question. The Democrats ran Hillary in 2016, Kamala in 2024, Biden in 2020. Can the Democrats only win? And this is some perception in the country. Can the Democrats only win if they nominate a white man who is not Jewish and who's not gay in 2026? Do you agree or disagree? Why and why not?
I had to take a deep breath because merit and diversity is not on a continuum. You don't either get the most diverse candidate or the most qualified, credible candidate. You get and absolutely should expect both. And we are in an awakening point right now where Democrats have historically let strategy get in the way of productive policy and platform. We see the amount of people, even in the 9th congressional district, have voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016 and in 2020, and some people who thought they were doing something special by trying to hack the system and vote for Clinton because she was the better and more productive option. If we want true leaders leading and representing us, demographics and affinities is not what the solution is. It really comes down to who is saying the policies and ideas and solutions to the everyday problems that impact all of us. And if that happens to be a white, Jewish, gay person, as you mentioned, great. And if it happens to be a young Muslim Gen Z woman right here, also great.
Okay, thanks, Bushra. Okay, so the next question goes to Phil Andrew. There you are, Phil. So the question is, DEI programs are being erased at universities, private companies, and in the federal government in their hiring practices. What can we Democrats do to reverse this pattern? And will we lose elections as a result? Why or why not?
There was something extra in that question. Can you rephrase it?
Okay, DEI, diversity, equity, yes, inclusion programs are being erased or being eliminated at universities, private companies, and in the federal government in their hiring practices. What can we Democrats do to reverse this pattern and reverse this tide? And will we lose elections as a result? Why or why not?
Well, first, let's talk about, my experience is that I've been in running my own company for over 8 years since I left the Bureau. And the years that I worked in the Bureau, we worked very hard to try to build an organization that reflect the American people, because that made us more effective. And that is the same spirit that at PAX Group that we not only practice within our organization, but we bring that message to corporate leaders. When they're in crisis, when they're in conflict, one of the first things we do is help them understand the importance of a diverse, healthy team in managing the circumstances that they're in. So I think that first that we've got to just prove up that diversity is actually part of performance, resilience, and effectiveness. And the science is on our side, the practice is on our side, and I don't think we need to be apologetic about that. The ancient wisdom now matches the neuroscience, and the world needs to embrace it if we want to get through this together.
Time.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Phil. Okay, next question goes back to Daniel Biss. Hopefully in the car. There you are, Dan. So, Dan, the stock market is soaring. The Fed has already cut interest rates again, resulting in lower mortgage rates and interest on car loans, etc. How can the Dems message this by pointing out that the stock market growth only benefits the wealthy and that the common man is still struggling to make ends meet? Do we have his audio on, Phil? Dan? How can we get Dan's audio on?
Okay, I think I was just offered to unmute.
Yeah.
Hi, friends.
Did you get my question, Dan?
Yeah, no, I could hear you. The question is about the fact that the stock market is high, but people are struggling, and what do we do about that as Democrats? Yeah?
Yep.
Well, listen, we have an economy that's gotten better and better for the wealthy and harder for working people. We've seen for 50 years, corporations get bigger, more consolidated. There's greater monopoly power as unions have shrunk and workers have gotten weaker. We've seen the balance of power shift and shift and shift away from workers and to corporations, away from consumers and to corporations. And we need to say that, and then we need to fix it. We need to break up big corporations, actually take antitrust enforcement seriously. We need to pass the PRO Act. We need to pass other legislation to encourage unionization and make the empowerment of workers a reality in our society. And I just think that there's a hunger out there for that. People feel it. People feel that we're no longer the narrators of our own stories because big corporations have too much control, and it's time for us to fight back. It's the right thing to do for policy, and I think it's the right thing for us to do politically to restore the working class strength of the Democratic Party.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Next question goes to Jeff Cohn. There you are.
Sid, respectfully, I think you skipped me on my chance to do a rebuttal.
I did. Yeah, that's what I was asking for help from the team, and they said that I had gone through. But anyway, so I'll give you a back-to-back then. I'll give you a chance for a rebuttal, and then I'll ask you a question.
Okay, so my rebuttal is more an amplification. I think that Sam got a question about ICE, and what I wanted to do is take a minute and ask the question, why do we have a police state forming? You know, some of it's because of racism, but a lot of it is because we have an economy that's broken for so many people. And people aren't as mean when they're doing well. You know, finger pointing at immigrants, anti-trans, Muslim, gay, Jews, you know, there's no upside in sight. And so people start to blame. Now, to be fair, you know, the borders were pretty porous during Biden's administration, but economic well-being is the way to pry folks loose from their grip on hate. I think it can also be bipartisan. There are lots of things we can do. There's tax reform. I really think that there's a way to do profit sharing. I think there's incentives we can have to shift some of that wealth back to workers. Justin said workers need a voice. That absolutely, they also need to get paid.
Okay, thanks a lot. So now the question in this round is going to be as follows. Even as MAGA supporters want Epstein files released, but Speaker Johnson and Trump have been successful till now and keeping this quiet. How can the Dems use this issue to win in 2026 and 2028? Or is that the wrong strategy?
Yeah, look, I don't think that's the right strategy. I think I don't think voters want constant entertainment out of their politicians. I think we follow the law. We keep the prosecutors on them. Inspector generals, as someone else mentioned, have been kind of decimated during this administration. We have to pursue that, but I don't think that that's a winning strategy. I really don't.
Okay. Thanks
We
a
need
lot.
to focus. We need to focus on economics and what are really causing working families to suffer. That's not the Epstein files.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Okay. The next question, I believe, goes to, let me see. Next question will go to Sam Poland. Have I missed anyone? I've done Jeff Cohen. I've done Justin Ford, correct? And now the next question is Sam Poland. There you are, Sam. Okay. Here's the question. Following the fall of the Soviet Union, there was a wave of democratic reform in Europe and the rest of the world. Right now, we appear to be facing a backslide with many countries like Hungary, Russia, Turkey, and possibly the US being what I call pretend democracies with one-party rule. Are you concerned about this? And how would we go about reversing this trend?
So yes, I am absolutely concerned about that. This trend is something we can't ignore. Authoritarianism is becoming popular again, and this idea of strongman leadership and eroding democracy as something that we're kind of accepting, it should be horrifying to every single American, but it's not something we need to stand for. I think a lot of this issue stems from the fact that the United States of America has lost a great deal of credibility on the international spectrum. We used to be the shining light on the hill of democracy, republic representation, and what could happen with a free capitalistic society. As we lose credibility and we back out of treaties, we're incoherent with our foreign policy, and we manipulate the stock market, what that signals to other countries is we can't be trusted. So the example we want to live by is what is absolutely counter to autocracy. So the other issue with that too is the less stable the world becomes, the more fearful people grow. So they look to strongmen, they look to security states, they look to socialized government in order to protect what they have at home because they don't trust the international system anymore.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sam. Next question will go to Nick Piatti. There you are, Nick. Gun violence is at an all-time high. The NRA is a strong supporter of the GOP, even though their members are a small percentage of the electorate. What are your views on gun control legislation? And how can Dems not lose elections by being blamed that we are anti-Second Amendment?
So to begin, my views on gun control are, it seems very straightforward. I honestly do not understand the argument on the other side. It seems to me very clear that, in the way that the First Amendment does not allow you to slander people or to, cause public panic, the Second Amendment comes with limitations that are built into it as well, that don't allow you to have weapons that you simply don't need and that are far too dangerous for people to hold. I think this is one of those issues where there is going to be an entrenched opposition on the other side. Our job is to win, to have a large enough vision that we can win political support, even if we carry some positions that are going to have opposition, and use the political capital we build to pass laws that the entire country can get behind. I'm not really interested in moderating a position on gun control to appease people who want ultra-violent weapons. I would rather make sure that we're winning political support on other issues that we can use to lead on issues like this.
Okay, thanks a lot, Nick. The last question in this round will go to Howard Rosen. Hi, Howard. So the question to you is, recent college grads and people who have lost jobs, including those in the federal government, are finding it very difficult to find work. Some blame artificial intelligence, some blame jobs going overseas, and others blame undocumented immigrants. Are you in favor of a universal basic income scheme where workers can be paid by the federal government because their jobs don't exist in the economy for them? Will a UBI scheme, or universal basic income scheme, ever be able to be passed in Congress?
Well, that's a great question. And I think it kind of misses the point for the need, which is the point for everyone to have a productive life, be able to pay their bills, be able to have access to healthcare, a basic level of income, take care of their families. There's a quality of life. There's always going to be exceptions where people are in poverty or disabled, marginalized people who don't have the same opportunities to get equal access for employment and income. But I don't think that that should be assumed as a replacement for the opportunities that every person would have and deserves to have in the opportunity to work. People blame immigration, AI, but really there are a lot of opportunities to use AI to create new jobs. Immigrants have contributed greatly to our economy. We can't ignore their work, their worth, and their benefit to our economy. So I think that really there's a lot of factors here, and there's a lot of false assumptions in that question. Yes, everyone needs an opportunity to work, with the understanding that yes, there needs to be a basic level of income for those who are without the equal opportunities or the access and the tools and resources necessary to succeed. We need to take care of every American, every person in America, so all of us benefit together and that everybody will thrive.
Okay, thanks a lot, Howard. Okay, so the question to the leadership team or the group organizing, have Laura Fine or Mike Simmons joined the group or not?
I've not seen them come in.
Okay, so then we'll go to the final round of closing statements, and here we'll begin with Daniel Biss.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity to do this. And I, again, apologize for missing a good portion of the forum. I had an unmovable conflict. Listen, we are in an emergency. Today, literally today, ICE was driving around the North Shore, hassling landscapers based on the color of their skin, abducting people, I believe, from a grocery store parking lot in Wilmette. This is a profoundly dangerous situation, and it requires two things. It requires elected officials with backbone and courage and the ability to stand up and fight and build coalitions that others didn't see as possible, coalitions that can get things done and make change and win these battles that are so critical. And it requires an extraordinary groundswell of grassroots organizing and therefore elected officials who work in partnership with organizers to make change. I am proud of the fights that I've taken on and won, like, for example, passing the strongest climate ordinance.
You muted.
Daniel, you're muted.
You muted.
Can we unmute him?
Thanks for letting me unmute. I appreciate it. I felt like I was getting the hook there, but I'll wrap quickly. Proud of these fights I've taken on the climate issue I mentioned, on issues like LGBTQ rights and reproductive rights and so forth. Proud of having stood up to tough opponents and taken on real political consequences for myself to deliver change, but proud, if anything, even more of my partnership throughout my career, from before I was in public office to today, when I'm driving around Evanston, working with organizers in our community to keep our neighbors safe, understanding that the partnership between elected officials and community activists is what is going to save us in this moment. It would mean the world to me to have your support. And I'm so excited to work with you and other Indivisible groups to make sure we take our country back. Thank you very much.
Okay, we gave you that little extra time because you didn't get the chance to do those other three. The rest will all have to stay within the one. And thank you, Dan, for doing this from your car. We really appreciate
So I
you joining
messaged
us.
the text that Laura Fine just texted me that she just got off the floor. So I don't know that she's on yet, but she just got it. So I don't know that she's gonna make it.
Okay, and we'll give her a chance to. Can you text her back, telling her to try to get on, and I'll include her at the end of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So the next person for the closing statement is going to be Jeff Cohen. Jeff, you're up for your closing statement.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for having all of us. It's really a privilege to be able to talk to so many folks. Listen, I came here tonight to be on from a lot of places, from Evanston, from Edgewater, from the University of Chicago, India, but mostly I'm here tonight with tales of tough family economics from around the district. You know, a 79-year-old shouldn't be working at a call center as a retirement plan, and a teacher shouldn't be picking up an Uber shift to make ends meet. And I think a new college grad shouldn't think that $45,000 a year is their forever salary. You know, land of opportunity for most folks is like a strip mall parking lot at 3 a.m. I mean, it's just empty. So the world is dangerous and the economy is broken, and I can do something about it. And that's why I'm running. I'm not here to try to complete a career path. I'm not here for celebrity attention. I'm here to fix stuff for you and your parents and your kids and my kids. And that's going to take a lot of experience and a lot of very hard work. So again, my name is Jeff Cohen, and I really thank all of you and all of the other candidates for listening tonight.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jeff. Next person up is Justin Ford.
Okay.
There you are, Justin. You're up for your 1-minute closing.
Yes. Thank you, Indivisible, for having us here. It's been a wonderful opportunity to share some about ourselves. I'd like to encourage everybody. I have a very detailed ideas of who I am and what I'm fighting for on my website at votejustinford.com. So I encourage you to go there and poke around and see if there's things you agree or disagree with me. Shoot me an email if you disagree with me. I'm a public health professional. I'm not a politician. I'm getting involved because I really think the Democrats need to start focusing on working class issues again. I really think that we need to do a better job of defending Social Security. We need to do a better job with climate change. We heard the Green New Deal tonight. That's talking points. I have a plan. You need to have a plan. You can't just talk about it. And then my signature issue that I can't get away without saying is that we need to develop a 4-day work week in this country. We know it works. We've seen it in other countries and in companies within this country where they do it. Profitability increases, productivity increases, workforce participation increases, which helps things like Social Security. But more importantly, people have better mental health outcomes and they burn out less. We can do more as a country.
Okay, thanks a lot, Justin. Question is, has Laura Fine joined the group?
No, she is not in.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so the next closing statement goes to Sam Poland. There you are, Sam. You're up for your closing statement. 1 minute.
So first, I just want to say thank you to Indivisible. This is a great forum. Appreciate you bringing everyone together and these really great questions. We live in a really strange time right now. Strange time in this country, strange time all over this world. Things are not normal. Things are complicated and hard, and we're bombarded by bad news every single day. That's why more than ever, I think we need a new generation of leadership. We need fresh outside perspectives, and we need the right people to handle these complicated situations. If I describe my worldview in 2 words, I would say that I'm an optimistic realist. I still have faith in democracy. I still have faith in our neighbors, and I still have faith that America's best days are in front of us and not behind us. But the realist side in me recognizes the reality on the ground, which is we need to win the next election. We need to keep winning elections. We can have all the greatest ideas in the world, but if we do not have power, it doesn't matter. So what we need to do is be honest about the party, be honest about the fact that we lost all 7 swing states in the last presidential election, and really regroup and try to tailor our message to the greater good of the American people and make our tent bigger, not smaller. I still have faith in this entire system, but we need to fight like hell to keep it. And I'm never going to give up on that fight.
Thanks a lot, Sam. Thanks a lot. So next up is Nick Piatti for the 1-minute closing statement.
Sorry, is it supposed to be
Oh,
focused?
sorry.
Yeah.
You know what? That was my fault. Hold on. The names were jumping around. I
No
apologize.
problem.
There's Nick. You're
Thank
up for
you.
your closing statement. 1 minute.
Sure. So thank you to the team for setting up this forum. I think if there's one thing I want to impress upon everyone, the one idea I want to leave is truly the strangeness, as Sam was saying, and the need for a new approach to this moment. I left my job and jumped into this race because I was seeing Democrats around the country, when they would give their speech, they would tack on 20 seconds at the beginning about how strange and unusual this time is and how we need to fight, and then finish with all the same platform they'd always been saying. Or they would talk about how lawless this administration is and how they are breaking the law, and then propose passing a bunch of laws to stop the administration. This is a time where the things that we've been doing for the last 10 years have been failing. And it's not enough to say we're going to fight. It's not enough to talk about the policies that we support. We have to have a cold-eyed view of how we're going to win back power. To me, it is clear that you need to have a vision that can excite and inspire more people to come back to the party. And you need to focus on building a party that can actually win in 2028. That election started the day after the November 2024 election, and we're far behind. We need to use 2026 to build strength that we can use to take back the White House and end the MAGA era for good. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Nick. So if Laura Fine doesn't join us, Howard Rosenblum will be our anchor leg. So Howard, you're up for 90 seconds for your closing statement. Go ahead, Howard.
Thank you so much for the honor of joining the panel. And I agree with everyone when I say thank you for this panel and having the opportunity to come together. I've been a lawyer for 33 years. I've been working to change the system. I've won cases that no one ever thought it was possible. And I think it's important that we have services. I thank you for the streaming and the captioning. I am the only one here who has sued President Trump and won. And I'm also someone who works closely with the Presidents Obama and Presidents Biden in various committees. I've worked with other committees in the Senate and the House. I know how the federal government runs and operates. I've been in DC for 13 years, as well as my years here in Chicago. And I grew up here and was born and raised in Skokie. And I look forward to working with every consumer in this community, all the marginalized community, all the people who have their civil rights violated. I want to work together and get access into Congress. And I hope that you elect me. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Howard. So, quick question.
I'm sorry, Sid. Let me just interrupt you for a second. Bushra, apparently her screen froze. She didn't get a closing statement. I'm just relaying the message.
Okay, so is she back on, Bushra, or not?
She is on.
Yes,
Okay.
I can ask her to
Okay.
unmute and add the spotlight.
There you are, Bushra. Are you unfrozen? Can you say something, Bushra?
Oh, hold on. I think, let's see.
She's muted, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute her.
I just unmuted her. Oh, I thought I unmuted her.
For some reason, it's not letting her unmute. Hold on.
This is the
That's
vagaries of
Zoom.
technology.
Hold on.
She's freezing up periodically too.
Yeah.
There she is.
Now she's unfrozen, I think.
Okay.
Bushra, you're up for your 1 minute closing. Even if you freeze, you can speak. I hope.
Sometimes if you're, oh, wait a minute, she's muted again. Hold on. Sometimes if your signal's unstable, if you turn off your video, you might be able to speak. Sorry, that is
Can
just,
someone unmute her? I can't.
yeah, I'm trying. It's not working.
No, she's
Hold on.
frozen.
I'm going to stop the video.
Maybe she should log off and log back on and we can continue when she gets back on. I'll notify you guys.
That's probably a good idea. There's something, I think because it's not stable, it won't let us unmute you. Sorry.
But we're at the close to the end of our.
I will text her.
Okay. So while we are trying to restore Bushra, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody on the team, from Bill Davis to Candace Davis to Lonnie Ulrich. Yeah. Yes.
Laura Fine is trying to get on. She
Oh,
said,
Laura. Okay.
I don't see her.
okay. Sorry to keep
She's not
interrupting.
in yet.
No problem interrupting. We want to get as many people on as possible. We owe Bushra a closing statement. We owe Laura Fine. I'll give her a couple of shots at answering a question and then making a closing statement.
And Bushra, looks like Bushra's here and unmuted with her camera off. Bushra, can you speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you now.
Please go ahead with your closing statement.
Give me a second with the clock. I just lost it. Okay, go ahead.
Would one of you be able to help turn my camera on? It says I will not be able to.
Okay, yes, hold on a second. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I was hoping that would help it be more stable. All right, let's see. Ask to start video. How's that?
Let's see.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, okay. I can't see myself, but this is wonderful. Well, thank you so much to the Indivisible groups for hosting today. And I appreciate the patience with me as my internet is giving up around the 9 p.m. mark this evening. I just wanted to remind you all have incredible options to choose from. And I'm someone that has experienced 7 years as an elected official here in Skokie. I have a decade of nonprofit experience and just left my 5-year-long career at Google to represent the community I call home. My parents built their life in IL-09 brick by brick. My dad's a small business owner. My mom's a teacher. And really, we don't need fancy, expensive DC consultants to tell us what people in this community care about. We've been knocking on doors, speaking to every single part of this community, from Crystal Lake to Edgewater to Uptown to Skokie to Lincolnwood. And the choices are pretty clear. Someone who you knew in this community prior to about a month ago or even a year ago before they decided to run for the seat. And I really hope that that is the litmus test in which you make your choice come March. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bushra. So can we get Laura?
Sid?
Yeah.
So I got a note that Phil Andrews would like to do a closing statement.
Oh, he did not get a chance?
Evidently not.
Okay, then we shall put Phil Andrew on. Yeah, you're right. He didn't get a chance. So let's put Phil Andrew on. There you are, Phil. I'm sorry I skipped you. So you have a chance to make a closing statement.
Well, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity for the close. Thank you guys for hosting this forum. You know, I really want to recognize that this is a really difficult time in our country and a difficult time in Chicago. You know, that we just saw this unusual indictment of a candidate in our race. And I want to recognize, and I want to first say, I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry that the Justice Department is choosing to waste its time in such frivolous ways and not be focused on the real threats that are causing violence in our community and are threats to our national security. But we really need to move beyond the performative politics here. This is an emergency. This is absolutely a crisis. And I have been working in crisis management and dealing with difficult circumstances and bringing people together in the most austere and hostile situations. My time as a hostage negotiator brings a lot of insight into what's happening. I think a lot of people feel like our democracy has been taken hostage. And it's going to take skills of people who can build bridges, but also meet the moment and push when you need to push. So I welcome folks to join our team. It's going to take teamwork to win this. You can find me at philandrewforcongress.com, and I look forward to engaging folks directly.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil. Thank you very much. So let's see if we can get Laura Fine on. Yeah, Lonnie.
She says she's in the waiting room. I don't see her in the waiting room.
What I got a message that it won't let her register to get into the event. So I don't know if she needs the link again. I doubt that the link has changed.
I'm guessing that since we are at the 2-hour mark, which was set up not to exceed, she probably is not allowed to come in.
That's
possible. And I cannot edit that.
Okay.
I'll let her know.
Okay. And maybe we'll give her an opportunity at a coffee and conversation or something like that to join and have her say as well. Okay. So now we've come to the end of our forum. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Bill Davis, leader of our group, who's orchestrated this event, Candace Davis, who is invaluable in sorting out all the technical issues, Lonnie Ulrich for doing the timekeeping, Debbie Rudy for collecting the questions, Pam
AKA Vanna White.
Pardon?
I said AKA Vanna White. That's what I felt
Vanna
like.
White. Yeah. Pam Lefkowitz for doing all the work that she did, and everybody else that helped to make this happen. But to the audience and to the people who joined, a big thank you to take 2 hours out of your busy day to join us. But please stay engaged. This fight is not over. And as Kamala liked to say, when we fight, we win. Mm-hmm. So we expect to see all of you at Indivisible protests, in protests in Palatine and other areas, helping support immigrants. So we need all the help that we can get, and it's all hands on deck to try to oppose this regime that is being very lawless. So thank you again. Over to you, Bill.
Well, a huge thank you to all the attendees, all the candidates, and the incredible group of folks that we pulled together from Indivisible, NWSOFA, Indivisible Evanston, and Indivisible Skokie, Morton Grove, and Niles. This was a lot of work. This was very complex. We were doing things that we hadn't done before. And I tell you what, I wish that we were all together, because I'd buy the beer and the pizza to just, sit out and just say, wow, we did it. And to the candidates, wow, you guys did it. You hung in there. You moved through it. I just wish we could have gotten Laura on, but we will do this again. This was an incredible format. If you could take all the candidates, wouldn't you just like to have a corporation you could add them all in to be on their board of directors? They're all that good, and then allow them to run the country, but that is the way it goes. Folks, listen to this. 2 weeks ago, on the 18th, excuse me, we had No King's Day. The number of registered folks was 7 million. In Arlington Heights, we had registered 2,600. We had 11,000 show up. Multiply that across the country. We're getting close to that 3.5% where you can start to change regimes. You can start to change the directions of the countries. And it is so positive. With all these negative things that are happening, our groups are growing. the No Kings is an expression of people coming out to express themselves and to show the joy. So I think in about a week, we'll have the election results from New Jersey, from Virginia. We'll hear what Prop 50 is in California. I think they will all be positive. We're all calling. We're trying to do everything that we can. And these races, the Illinois 9th, and then Sid, thank you for doing the Illinois 8th a couple of weeks ago. That was great. These candidates are strong. Any one of them will do a great job in Washington for us. We want to thank everybody once again. Hats off to you. Sid, thank you so much for putting together this and dealing with, let's see, I think there were 9 of us, so you had 9 different opinions on just about everything. Great job. Everybody, thank you so much. And this will not be the last of these. Evanston, Skokie, thank you for jumping in. Indivisible, Illinois, thank you for jumping in also. We just couldn't have done it with the reach out there with it.
Thanks to
thanks CBS for hanging on. And there is a live YouTube video that is posted on the NWSOFA.org website. It is complete at this point, or will be in 35 seconds. You can share it. You can review it. And every and we captured.
And everybody, I'd just like to let you know that Susan Danzig just let me know that a friend sent her a pic from No Kings in Tokyo.
Okay, great. And Debbie, thank you so much for what you've done. All right, we're going to end this. Thank you all very much. Sid, have a great sleep. I know you're tired. I think we all are. All right, have a great one, everyone. Thank you again.